The night the world shifted for Jamal Carter began not in a boardroom, not on a red carpet, not in the glow of flashing cameras, but under the dim golden lights of La Fontaine, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, where whispers of wealth floated through the air with the scent of aged wine and truffle oil, and where Jamal, a tall, broad-shouldered black man in his early 30s with eyes that carried both fatigue and dignity, worked as a waiter whose uniform was pressed but worn at the edges, his shoes shined but aging, and his smile sincere though it masked the weight of countless invisible insults endured in silence. The moment that would define him began in the heartbeat of humiliation, when a wealthy white businessman named Charles Whitmore, silver-haired 60, clothed in a custom-tailored navy suit with a gold watch flashing under the light like a badge of supremacy, snapped his fingers not once, not twice, but 3 sharp times at Jamal as if summoning a servant from some bygone era, his voice cutting through the elegant hum of dinner chatter with words so sharp they made the entire room pause. "Boy, you're too slow. Do you people even know how to serve properly?" And Jamal froze for half a second, the insult burning against his skin like fire. The word boy clawing into his dignity as nearby diners turned their heads, some gasping softly, others exchanging uncomfortable glances, yet no one daring to speak. His hands tightened around the silver tray, his knuckles whitening as his heart hammered with the weight of centuries of the same poison disguised in new forms. And though he wanted to shout, though he wanted to slam the tray down and demand respect, he knew he couldn't. Rent was due, his younger brother Malik's college tuition needed paying, and his mother's medical bills from her recent surgery had left him with nothing but prayers and sleepless nights. So he bowed his head slightly and whispered, "I'll be right with you, sir," swallowing the hurt like broken glass. But the humiliation wasn't done, for when Jamal returned with the wine Charles had ordered, a $200 vintage Bordeaux, Charles sneered and said loudly, so the whole section could hear, "Careful now, boy. Don't spill it, you people are known for clumsy hands." And laughter erupted from one of Charles's companions, another suited man with slicked back hair, while others at the table smirked with complicity, their privilege a shield against shame. And Jamal felt his ears burn as he carefully poured the wine, each drop like a test of his restraint. Somewhere deep inside a storm raged, yet he stood tall, his pride intact though bruised, and when he turned away, he caught the eyes of a young black couple dining nearby, their faces etched with the silent solidarity of those who knew the sting of being diminished in public. And that silent recognition gave Jamal a fragile strength. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch till the end. Because this is not just a story about food, service, and money. It is about dignity, justice, and a man who would leave that restaurant with more than he ever imagined. Hours later, when the dinner rush slowed, Jamal carried plates back to the kitchen, replaying the insult over and over in his head, asking himself why he didn't speak up, wondering if silence made him complicit. But before his thoughts could settle, he was summoned by the manager, Mr. Davis, a wiry white man in his 50s with a cold efficiency to his demeanor who whispered, "Jamal, Table 12 is complaining. You need to go fix it before they demand to speak to the owner." And Jamal nodded, his chest tightening, knowing Table 12 meant Charles and his entourage. When he returned, Charles tapped his glass with a spoon, drawing attention from surrounding tables, and said, "Everyone, watch this. Let's see if our server can manage a simple task without fumbling." His voice dripping with mockery as he handed Jamal a wine cork and added, "Open this without breaking it, boy. Show us you're not useless after all." And though Jamal's hands trembled with rage, he took the bottle, steadied his breathing, and with surgical precision opened it smoothly, silently defying the stereotype cast on him. Yet instead of applause, Charles leaned back, smirked, and said, "Even a broken clock is right twice a day," sparking another round of cruel laughter. And then came the twist, the mid-story rehook, when a figure entered La Fontaine, a man in his early 40s, dressed in an understated gray suit, with calm authority radiating from his presence. Mr. Leonard Graham, the owner of the restaurant, a man who rarely appeared on the floor but tonight had chosen to dine privately, and now found himself watching the unfolding cruelty from across the room, his eyes narrowing as he caught every word Charles uttered, his jaw tightening not only as a businessman but as a black man himself, one who had clawed his way through prejudice to own one of the most prestigious establishments in the city. As Jamal walked past him carrying plates, Leonard called softly, "Stay strong, brother," a whisper that carried the power of recognition. and Jamal, startled, nodded, feeling seen for the first time that evening. Moments later, Charles, emboldened by his unchecked cruelty, snapped again. "Where's the bill, boy?" "Don't make me wait." And Leonard stood, his chair scraping the floor, silence spreading like wildfire through the dining hall as every head turned. He walked toward table 12 with steady steps, his voice calm but thunderous in its weight. "I'll handle this one personally," he said, his eyes fixed on Charles, who chuckled and asked, "And who might you be?" "Another waiter?" To which Leonard replied, his tone sharp as glass, "No, I'm the man who owns this restaurant, and I've been listening to you all evening belittle one of my best employees with racist filth, and I won't tolerate it, not here, not anywhere." And the room erupted in murmurs, bystanders whispering, some applauding softly, others holding their breath while Charles's face turned red, his arrogance faltering for the first time. He sputtered, "I was just joking. Don't be so sensitive." But Leonard stepped closer, his eyes unwavering. "You think it's a joke to strip a man of his dignity in front of strangers? You think money buys you the right to treat him like property? Not in my house, not ever." And with that, Leonard pulled the check from Charles's hand, tore it in half, and said, "Your money is no good here. You're banned from this establishment for life." And the room exploded in applause, some diners standing, others shouting in agreement, the energy electric, justice pulsing through every corner of the restaurant. But the final rehook came not just in Charles's downfall but in Jamal's rise, for Leonard turned to him, placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Jamal, you've carried yourself with grace tonight in the face of cruelty that would break lesser men, and I won't let that go unnoticed." Then pulled a small velvet pouch from his jacket pocket, tossing it onto the table before Jamal, who opened it with trembling hands to find a set of keys glinting under the chandelier. Leonard announcing to the entire room, "As of tonight, Jamal Carter is no longer just a waiter. He's the new general manager of La Fontaine, and one day, if he chooses, my partner." And the applause turned into a standing ovation, some diners with tears in their eyes, others chanting his name, while Charles stormed out, his pride shattered, his legacy nothing but humiliation, and Jamal, standing there with the keys in his hand, tears streaming down his face, realized this was not just about him, but about every insult endured, every stereotype confronted, every quiet act of dignity maintained in the face of injustice. And as he looked out over the cheering crowd, his heart swelled with pride, knowing that sometimes justice doesn't come in whispers, it comes in thunderclaps. And that night, when he walked home under the cool city lights, keys heavy in his pocket, he whispered to himself, "Mama, Malik, we made it." His steps steady, his back straight, his dignity intact, his future no longer bound by servitude but by ownership, by legacy, by triumph, and somewhere deep inside, he knew this story would ripple far beyond the walls of La Fontaine, carried into living rooms, schools, neighborhoods, and yes, even channels like Axiom USA, where stories of injustice and victory remind us all that silence does not equal weakness, and that respect once demanded can never again be denied.